In this tutorial, we explain the spiritual concept of the law of karma and destiny. Jeff's car was hit by a drunk driver, and he is being airlifted to a nearby hospital. Jeff will never be able to walk again. Little Nathaniel is 5, but the cancer that afflicts him will not let him live to see his 6th birthday. Allison graduated with straight A's at the top of her university class. 20 years later, life has not been kind to her. She has not been able to find a job that suits her. She is ill-treated by her husband, has been through bouts of depression, and has thoughts of committing suicide a couple of times. Sometimes, the best student in university may not do well in life. Omar was born in war-torn Darfur. Due to the country he is born in, and through no fault of his, young Omar will never have a proper education and will only know violence and hunger throughout his life. These are just some common examples of everyday stories around the world. Life hands us problems and things to be happy about, sometimes without even asking for it. When we suffer from various problems in life, we often ask the cliched question, "Lord, why did this have to happen to me?" And quite often, the cliched answer given to us is, God works in mysterious ways, and we aren't always meant to understand why things happen the way they do. But why would God make one person the child of a poor family, while the other the child of a wealthy family? And why would He let one person be born physically impaired and the other healthy? Is there some kind of universal rationale behind which all of us are granted different circumstances in our lives? A student of spiritual science will know that the answer lies in the law of karma, also known as the law of give and take. The law of karma governs all entities that were created as human beings. This means that even if a human being devolves to an animal, the law of karma is still applicable to the animal. Every action that we do generates an account. According to the law of karma, every positive deed generates a merit, and every negative deed generates a demerit or a sin. Every person has to undergo the consequences of the merits and demerits of accounts created by him. This is something like Isaac Newton's third law of motion, which states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Or the old adage which says that as one sows, so shall one reap. Now let's look at an example of how the law of karma plays out. Person A swindles person B and gives him 5 units of pain. As a result, person A creates a negative account with B, and consequently, person A will have to suffer 5 units of pain from B for the negative account to be settled. Now, this is the important part. If the account cannot be settled in the current lifetime for some reason, it will need to be settled when both person A and person B reincarnate on earth together in a future lifetime. Now, when they reincarnate together, the events will play out something like this. When person B meets person A, he will for no apparent reason have an innate dislike for person A, and he will look for every opportunity to give pain to person A. And when person A does get the full 5 units of pain because of person B, he will wonder why person B is so intent on hurting him. But little do they both know that the answer lies in an account that was created in a previous lifetime. As soon as the account is settled, there may be a change in person B's attitude to A. Let's look at another typical life example. Mark buys his buddy Chris a couple of drinks at the bar, and the next day Chris returns the favor by buying Mark the same couple of drinks at the same bar. The account seems to be settled at a transactional level. However, both men incur a sin or a demerit for putting an impression that alcohol is good in the other person's mind and for the consumption of alcohol. The reason that the act is a sin is because, from a spiritual perspective, by consuming alcohol, we reduce the subtle sattva component in a person and increase the tama component in a person, Now, an increase in the tama component in a person increases the overall spiritual impurity in the environment. Do refer to the article on Sattva, Raja and Tama on our website. On the other hand, selflessly helping a poor person in need will generate a merit. Over many lifetimes, we have all accumulated accounts of both merits and demerits. This is known as the accumulated account or the sanchit karma in Sanskrit. Now, the law of karma and how the give and take account plays out is complex and depends on various factors. These factors also determine the intensity of the account created, whether positive or negative. Now, the factors include, and most importantly, the intention behind the act. For example, killing a person for money as opposed to killing a person in self-defense. The severity or extent of the act, the situation at the time, the happiness or anguish faced by the person affected, and finally, who has been affected, whether it's an average person, or a seeker of God, or a saint, or a spiritual organization for that matter. Killing a saint constitutes the biggest sin or demerit. Depending on the intensity of the merits or demerits that one incurs in one's lifetime, after death, one goes to either the positive or negative subtle regions of the universe. On our website, we've actually explained about where we go after death. Do refer to it. For people who do not know about the law of karma, it can lead to the "why me, Lord" syndrome, which then results in a lack of faith and the feeling that life is unfair. But if we were to understand this law and how it influences our lives, at least we could have a philosophical view of why bad things happen to us, and at least try not to create any more negative accounts. As per the law of karma, unless we settle all our accounts, we cannot gain liberation from the cycle of birth and death, and therefore we keep getting reincarnated on earth to settle our give and take accounts. Every time we are born or reincarnated on the earth plane of existence, we bring with us a small part of the accumulated accounts in our sanchit karma to settle. In this slide, the accumulated account is represented by that big long grey bar on top. The red portion in the bar represents the amount of accounts to be settled in the current lifetime. The accounts that we have to settle in our current lifetime is known as our destiny. Destiny is also known as prarabdha in Sanskrit. This pie chart shows the proportion of our lives which is destined versus the life which is within our own free will. Through spiritual research, we have found that for an average person, in the current era of Kali Yuga, 65% of his life is destined and 35% of his life is willful action. This means that approximately 65% of events that happen in our lives we have no control over. Now, in the case of the person's first birth in the universe, willful action at that time was 100% and destiny was 0. But then as we begin to create accounts by our willful action, and as we progress towards the end of Kali Yuga, also known as the era of strife, and a person's last birth, the proportion of destined actions will be close to 100% and willful actions next to nil. The spiritual purpose of our lives is to settle and complete our destiny, and subsequently, our accumulated account. Therefore, experiencing happiness or sadness according to our destiny. And the second and most important aspect is to do spiritual practice to grow spiritually and therefore come out of the cycle of birth and death.